shut down Parliament. He's shut down the voice of parliamentarians sent to this place to represent their constituents.
Do you feel he's outmanoeuvred you? I mean, he's left opposition parties powerless now for the next 5 weeks.
No, he's not outmanoeuvred us because we're holding his feet to the fire. Because crucially, what we've done in the time that we had is that we've passed an act of Parliament that compels Boris Johnson to make sure that we don't leave the European Union at the end of October. He has to accept that that is the rule of law, and he must deliver on that act of Parliament. He cannot, as he has been doing, threatening to ignore an act of Parliament. He will suffer the full force of the law if he does so, and we will make sure that that happens.
So when MPs return in October, what is your plan? I mean, how quickly do you try and bring down this government?
Well, let's wait and see. We'll see what happens over the course of the next few weeks. But we can be secure in the knowledge that it is the law of the land that we'll not be leaving the European Union. Boris Johnson has to deliver on that. When we return in the middle of October, of course we'll have options at that point.
A general election being the number one
a general
option.
election being one, but of course he thinks that he will be delivering his Queen's speech. Let's wait and see what happens, because we can do as we did last week, that we can take control of the order paper again. We are not going to slide back and let Boris Johnson determine what's going to happen. This is the Prime Minister.
No, instead we have to have Fatboy Blackford dictate what the fuck happens. Alright, okay, I see the logic to that one.
That's lost his majority. When he came in last week, he still had a majority of 1. He now has a majority of -40. Parliament has taken back control. Boris Johnson is going to have to dance to our tune.
Would you put Jeremy Corbyn into power?
Well,
Would your party do that?
What we need to do is to make sure that when we have secured that we're not leaving the European Union, we want a general election. That is the key thing.
But you're not ruling that out then?
It's not about working with...
That's 3 times that Beta Blackford within this one little interview has referred to the supposed law that prevents a no-deal Brexit as a law that's seemingly preventing Brexit in its entirety. So either he's overplayed his hand by mistake, or he's simply getting it wrong, or maybe I'm misinformed. Truth be told, I've got past caring at this point. I mean, I'd love to have been proven wrong at some point that Brexit wasn't a dog and pony show. I'd love to have been proven wrong. You know, I envied many people's optimism. But there was one thing that will fundamentally rub me up the wrong way more than anything. And that is if Brexit is stopped, and it's because of this fat little shit who seems to have an obsession with pretending that he's doing what he's doing because it's for the people of Scotland, the people of Scotland for Remain. Well, they didn't all vote fucking Remain, first and foremost. You know? And I love that. So he's dictating when a general election can occur, but yet waddles about and refers to Boris Johnson as a dictator. He's also effectively fucking over the people in Scotland who would like a general election, who voted to leave the European Union, potentially to oust some of these dickheads. But oh no. He dictates the terms of any future general election, so Mama Sturgeon can stay in Parliament, so Mama Sturgeon can continue destroying our country behind the scenes, while this fat little reprobate sits down there and whines on and on about independence. You know? Fuck me.
In or out. It's about parliamentarians collectively accepting the responsibility that we must force a general election.
Oh, after you've dictated the terms, you and the boys, you and Joe Swinson, and Anna Soubry. Oh my god.
As soon as possible. I want to have that opportunity to put
how his voice changes there. I want
our case to the people of Scotland.
What case have you got exactly?
It's not about who becomes an interim Prime Minister, it's about making sure that the people of Scotland
have... The people of Scotland, oh my... Do you know, I'm fucking sick hearing this crap. I can't imagine what it's like to live down in England and turn on your TV and see this man with his weird face. The people of Scotland, as if we're all on board with his diatribe. Stop fucking using this country and the people in this country as your scapegoat for your fucking bullshit. At the behest of Mama Sturgeon, helmet head, you know? Yes, granted, I'll give you it. People in Scotland, there probably is some, if your Facebook followers are anything to go by, who are die-hard commies, just the same as you are. But you don't speak for everybody in Scotland. You sure as fuck don't speak for me. The audacity to sit down there day after day trying to stop Brexit, stopping the whole process, and then, just when that can't start bad enough to some, he then throws into the mix this false, baseless claim that the people of Scotland, You've got no fucking mandate if you're successful in stopping Brexit. A fact that you leave out every single time that weird mouth opens to spew out more venomous bullshit. Man, fucking Jesus. I hate this prick more than I hate any other politician. And yeah, hate's a strong word, and I know that Ian Blackford gets a little upset, he gets a little jittery when he hears nasty words directed his way, but he sees no issue with labelling other people racist and far right and so on, so you know. Fucking Jesus.
Who becomes Prime Minister, who eventually negotiates everything? Jeremy Corbyn be better than Boris Johnson?
We don't need to do that because Parliament has been prorogued. All acts of Parliament have been passed. A motion of no confidence can easily lead to an election without the imposition of a new Prime Minister.
Ian Blackford.
Right, anyway,
to the people of Scotland.
Here.
Taking back control, Boris Johnson is going to have to dance to our tune.
Would you put Jeremy Corbyn into power?
Well,
would your party to do that?
What we need to do is to make sure that when we have secured that we're not leaving the European Union, we want a general election. That is the key thing.
But you're not ruling that out then?
It's not about working with anybody or ruling anybody in or out. It's about parliamentarians collectively accepting the responsibility that we must force a general election as soon as possible. I want to have that opportunity to put our case to the people of Scotland.
You don't have a case for independence. Unless they have got something up their sleeve, unless they have agreed some secret pact in order to get some Jack-free, Bakshi, referendum. Unless they've got something like that planned, then fair enough. I won't be able to comment until I see it for myself. But in terms of the mandate that they are referring to, which they continuously refer to on a daily basis, how Helmet Head does in particular, oh, we've got a democratic mandate. No, you don't, because that mandate can't be acted upon unless Brexit happens, if circumstantial changes were to occur, etc., etc. You know, the same circumstantial changes that you seem to be hell-bent on trying to deviate away from. Yeah, Brexit would seemingly be the best thing for you if everything that these people suggest is to be believed, and that is, of course, that there's a surge in independent support, and they've got a mandate. Well, why don't you call your referendum right fucking now then? Why won't they do it right now? Oh, I forgot, because they don't have a mandate. Funny how that works, you know? What case for independence? If you stop Brexit, if these people stop Brexit, what is different between now and before anybody ever talked about an EU referendum to begin with? What is the difference? The only difference, granted, would be is there'll be a hell of a lot more people, probably in the UK, that resent Scotland because of this fat little shit and his partners in crime, as well as all the other shameful parties in Westminster, but this dickhead especially, sitting down there wanting independence in one breath, but then stopping Brexit for everybody else in the next, whining and moaning and complaining and crying, the woe is me routine about the people of Scotland better than me. Well, the people in England didn't, you little dick, but it doesn't seem to bother you. Oh my God, man, this guy annoys me. And for the people that can't see past the SNP, I mean, they are treated like demagogues by a lot of people on their Facebook pages anyway. You know, it was revealed today, the latest statistics have come out, showing that the birth rate is continuing to plummet in Scotland. What are you going to do about that, Mr. Blackford? Enlighten me, what do you plan to do? Oh, I know what he's going to do. He or Joanna Cherry, or somebody else, or Sturgeon herself, will waddle on over to a podium and talk about how culturally enriching immigration is. That's why we need control over immigration, or let's have independence for immigration. Join the European Union and live up to the responsibilities that they never elaborate on. Maybe in this time frame they will dispel the myths that they've been promising to dispel about immigration for the longest time. Or maybe we will finally realise that the bullshit they've been doing for the past 2 or 3 years behind everybody's back in regards to implementing human right after human right after human right is going to come back to bite everybody in Scotland in the arse. Because that is all for the mass migration that's coming your way thanks to the UN. Yes. So you'll have that to look forward to. We'll have the climate change hysteria, the fake climate carbon crisis to look forward to. Banning the cars, 5G, you name it, we'll have it in Beta Blackford's Rainbow Unicorn Land. And of course, deviating back to the initial question, if the birth rates are low, what are they planning to do to ease the problem? What have they done? What will they do? Are they going to do anything? Well, no, they're not. Because this trend has been on a downward trajectory for some time. So what did they decide to do, and what have they been doing for the past 3 or 4 years? Well, they've just been completely overhauling the education, removing any and all influences that they insist We could potentially create gender stereotypes that reinforce traditionalism, etc. Promote and empower the girls, promote degeneracy, promote the LGBT, promote anything bar motherhood or normal life, traditionalism, etc. You know, make the girls think that they really want to be a CEO. That's their destiny, etc. You know, just really hammer home. Just celebrate the process. Make sure it's impossible for our population to rejuvenate itself. Make it impossible and call it progression.